All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. Uh, yeah, weird. First of all, I can't really hear myself. Check. All right, now I can hear myself, but I only hear myself in mono. I don't know. Do you all hear me in stereo? Stereo. Um, we're live on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. Yeah, it was a weird time change, but there was no way to avoid it and escape it. And I really wanted to do the show today because I overwhelmed myself with things to talk about again today. So, absolutely, positively, must-alutely, I just made up that word, had to do a show. So, we'll talk about a few things. I actually had so many things to talk about this morning in my mind that I kind of wanted to do like a few days long, like a conversation, I guess. And I know this is going to sound really weird to people, especially the doomer crowd. I know this is going to sound weird, but I wanted to talk about solutions to climate change, or possible solutions, or possible ways forward. We've talked about all the, we've had so many conversations, the ins and outs around what is to be done or what is not to be done, or, should anyone bother? I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night about, well, he was telling me that he was seeing more climate scientists and or activists kind of remarking on the eventual like collapse of the biosphere and all that stuff. So it's becoming, I don't know. I think maybe I live in my own little bubble of people. I'm seeing about the same amount of people talking about climate change and the possibility of collapse as I ever have. No more, no less. Maybe a few more, but not a lot. But apparently, apparently there's a lot of people out there that think, that are starting to come over to the doom side. And so it was just interesting hearing from someone else that they were seeing more people out there talking about like a near term collapse. And so we were talking about it. The reason why I brought this up is we were talking about it, and I was saying, I am not like, so, it's fine if you're this way. If you're like, oh, I can't wait till the human race goes away, or I can't wait until it all falls down and we all turn to dust. That's fine if that's your position, but that's not my position. My position is, Marco says people have been talking about it since the 1970s. Yeah, for a while. I don't. Who knows? But my position is, I like being alive, and I like the earth being alive, and I like all the things on the earth being alive. It's a magical, wonderful place, and I don't really want to. Yes, I saw that. Max Sarjay, I did see that. Do I have that in my doc is the question. Do I have that in my queue? I think I did. I think I do. I think I did. I think I do. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't want, I'm not looking forward to that kind of thing. And it's not something that I'm wishing or hoping for. I'm hoping that humanity wakes up and gets it together, and somehow we avert the asteroid. That's seriously, and you can call me hopium all day long. I don't care. That's how I feel about it. You could say I'm wrong, I'm stupid, I don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. I'm naive. You can say all the things you want to say. That's my position. That's how I feel about it. And so, whether you think it's realistic to talk about solutions or not, I like to talk about solutions, because if, let's say, we have a negative feedback going in the Arctic right now. And what's the negative feedback? Well, something about the way the Earth is warming is causing the Arctic ice to actually slow down in its melt. We don't know, and this goes for the aerosol, the aerosol masking people. Aerosol masking, you could say that you have definitive evidence that, if we take, the aerosol, and some people are saying it's going on right now, if we take away some of the aerosols, that the Earth is going to heat up much faster. Fine. But, if we had a rapid decarbonization, you actually don't know for sure how the Earth is going to react. You absolutely don't know for sure how the Earth is going to react. You have ideas about it. You have suppositions. You have, feelings, whatever. Feelings based on, a scientific concept. Anyways, all I'm saying is, we won't know how to get there from here if nobody is going to talk about it. We won't know how to get there from here if everybody's like, shut up, that's stupid. We won't know how to get there from here if cynicism is your guiding light, or denialism, or whatever, whatever the stance might be. So, I am mostly in the camp of, I don't know what we're going to do, or I don't know how we're going to do it, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get it together to do it, but I do like to talk about some solutions people are putting forth, and maybe talk about how viable they are. If they're not viable at all, if they're somewhat viable, a little bit viable, totally a bunch of hooey. I want to discuss those things, and there's a wide array of opinions on this. And so the conversation is also the thing that's important to me. Mainly and mostly, I prefer not to shut down the conversation about it. And so I'm not really in the near-term human extinction, shut up, stop talking about it camp. I'm not one of those people. And you may disagree with me. That's okay. We can disagree. We don't have to agree. Anyways, that was just kind of an opening ramble about where my mind was at today. On the screen is an address where you can support the channel. That's my Cash App. There are also other addresses in the description box of all the platforms I'm on where you can support the channel. And I do appreciate your support. It really does help. Well, anyways, let's talk about this story. Patagonia owner. There's plenty to say about this, and plenty negative to say about this. But the one thing I will say, and maybe this is all just like smoke and mirrors or something, like I'm giving away my company, but the company is, it is on some levels, but the company is going to go on to continue to generate profits the owner of this company basically says as much. Well, we're taking things from nature in order to make profits, and then we're going to try to save nature after we made these profits. You see the inherent problem in that. I guess the only upside to this is that something like this must be, More things like this must be examples for the wealthy who are like, I care about climate change. All right, well, first of all, why don't you give up all that money? I'm more of the mind of dissolve your company. Like, don't, we're going to keep the company going and create profits and generate income and, scoop the nature out of nature in order to do this. But then we'll give back to nature. Like, I prefer that you just actually end the cycle altogether, that you just dissolve your company, take your money and go away. Go elsewhere. Give away most of your billions or whatever it is you have to help clean up the planet. Take your little whatever you need to live on and just go enjoy, have a nice day. That's what I prefer. That would be a solution, quote unquote, that would actually do something for the planet. But let's talk about this story. Patagonia's billionaire, well, you should know right there. When billionaires talk about saving the climate or saving the planet, that they're probably going to be a little bit off the mark. He's going to give away the company to fight climate crisis. Founder Yvon Chouinard announced that all the company's profits will go into saving the planet. Setting a new example in environmental corporate leadership, the billionaire owner of Patagonia is giving the entire company away to fight the Earth's climate devastation, he announced on Wednesday. Whoa, everybody said. Hey, that's cool. This guy turned his passion for rock climbing into one of the world's most successful sportswear brands and is giving the entire company to a uniquely structured trust and nonprofit designed to pump, I like the wording that they use here, designed to pump all of the company's profits into saving the planet. I want to pump those profits. Sorry. He says, as of now, Earth is our only shareholder. I just don't, this language is problematic, right? You're going to pump the profits into saving the planet. And then Earth is a shareholder is another problematic phrase, but we'll keep going. All profits in perpetuity will go into our mission to save our home planet. Home planet, as if, home planet, as if there's another planet that we go, the other planets that we go to. I know, I understand. Earth is our only home at the moment. Anyways, they restructured the company to continue to operate as a for-profit company whose proceeds will go to benefit environmental efforts. Okay. 2% of all stock and all decision-making authority will be donated to a trust, which will oversee the company's mission and values. The other 98% of the company's stock will go to a nonprofit called the Hold Fast Collective, which will use every dollar received to fight the environmental crisis, protect nature and biodiversity, and support thriving communities as quickly as possible, according to the statement. Each year, the money Patagonia makes after reinvesting in the business will be distributed to the nonprofit to help fight the environmental. Well, so the question is, how much money are they going to say is necessary to reinvest in the business? How much is that? And how much is going to actually go to helping the environment? He went on to say, instead of going public, you could say we're going purpose, said Chouinard. He paid somebody a lot of money to think that one up, I think. Instead of extracting value from nature and transforming it into the wealth of investors. So this is also a problem. Instead of extracting value from nature and transforming it into wealth for investors, we'll use the wealth Patagonia creates to protect the source of all wealth. Well, the problem is the beginning of the sentence, which is extracting value from nature and transforming it into wealth. the part that actually kind of has to stop. So I don't know. It's one of those things that on face value looks like it's a big deal, but then, it's kind of like if any pick a corporation, pick any corporation or Exxon, fossil fuel company. We're going to take all this money that we're getting from destroying the planet and help save the planet. You can see the problem with that. Kind of have to stop digging the hole. Is anybody still on YouTube? Because I don't really see the comments coming in. I'm wondering if something is going on with YouTube. There's something going on with YouTube. I mean, don't y'all see? I don't know. You'll see the problem with this. Anyways, I mean, maybe on the surface or on the face of it, it's an interesting idea. It's also one of those things that seems like it's a thing. That's cool. Again, he says the same thing. Instead of exploiting natural resources to make shareholder returns, we're turning shareholder capitalism on its head by making the earth our only shareholder. Well, I don't know. But I think a lot more, I would like to see more, I guess, overtures like this from, I would like to see more billionaires actually giving away their company or actually dissolving their companies or saying like this, what we're doing is not helping the planet. So maybe we shouldn't do this. You guys are still there. Okay. You're just listening. Great. I mean, nobody's come to that realization. Again, this corporate centric, view of the world is really very toxic and is a big problem. And it's, the whole WEF thing, the Klaus Schwab thing, the whole I mean, the language is all like shareholders, capitalism, corporates, blah, blah, boo. I don't know. I don't hear anything about people, community, citizens having the power, right? I don't hear anything in the language there about, thank you, boiled rope lamppost, give it away now. I just, the whole like people power, the whole like the citizens are the shareholders, the people of the planet are actually like, and the corporations are going to kind of, I don't hear any language like that. Corporations are going to, have to, be beaten into submission, or beaten down. They should not be the masters of the future. They should not be deciding the future of the planet. But they seem to be the only ones at the table. They have the biggest seats at the table. And once in a while, they act all philanthropic or altruistic. Let's invite some, some of the poors, or let's invite some of those, those third world fellows to come tell us what they need. Oh, that's nice, Yeah, Judy Truitt, he's speaking like a financial business manager. It's just, it seems cool, but it's like fundamentally wrong. But it seems cool on the surface. It seems like, oh, that's cool. All right. So let me, not that anybody's ever going to hear what I have to say, or this guy won't ever hear what I have to say. Or remember years ago, you guys, when I told you, when I used to drive for Lyft, and I picked up somebody who was a mucky muck, who was had something to do with a thing called the Little Davos, right? She was we started talking, and she's like, well, so what do you do? What are you into? What do you, she was very friendly and cool. And I was like, yeah, I run this channel and we talk about climate change. She's like, oh, tell me more. Tell me, well, let me tell you who I am. I do this thing, and I'm going to the little Davos, what's known as the little Davos, and I'm going to speak to billionaires and people who run the world. What message would you give these people? And I told her, dissolve your businesses immediately. Take enough money for you all to live on and, slink away. She was like, oh, I can't say that. I was like, of course you can. Right. So if any of those people ever care what I think, or really actually care about the planet, because it's actually not about what I think, it's actually about what I'm saying actually has to do with the care of the planet. So if they actually care about the planet, what they will do is not, put their corporations into a trust fund, and so that they can still make money extracting the natural resources of the earth and still turn a profit, and then take some of that profit and give it back to no, that's not going to save the planet. I'm sorry, you are delusional on so many levels. But if we're going to talk about solutions, let's talk about solutions. But nice try. It was kind of, this is a big swing and a miss. But I appreciate that people are trying to have these conversations or talk about something. I don't know. Anyways, interesting story. A lot of people were talking about that yesterday. Well, hold on. There's another. Cunard, the famously eccentric entrepreneur who started his business fashioning metal climbing pitons, or pitons, I don't know how they're pronounced, or spikes to wedge into a crack, you guys know what they are, and lived out of his van at climbing destinations for many years, was horrified to be seen as a billionaire. Oh, but I have $1 billion. He is a billionaire. But he says he doesn't have $1 billion in the bank. I was in Forbes magazine listed as a billionaire, which really, really pissed me off. I don't have $1 billion in the bank. I don't drive Lexuses. The Cunard family are at the forefront of charitable giving, philanthropy, and trust, experts told the New York Times. His family is an outlier when you consider that most billionaires give only a tiny fraction of their net worth away every year. So maybe they are, really true, philanthropists. I don't know. Is your company worth $1 billion? I guess maybe that'll make you a billionaire. It's a big company. Patagonia is a big company, right? Yeah, I don't know. How's everybody feeling? Let's move on. But I asked you all. I know we started the show late. Maybe I should ask this question tomorrow when the show is at the right time, and there's more people here. Everybody got bumped out of the boat when I changed the time today. I apologize. Anyways, let's look at this. People are going to put forth the solutions, and the solutions are going to come, hot and heavy. Especially right now, over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of, quote unquote solutions. and a lot of directives and a lot of like we got to do this nows. Can some of these things actually be good? Are any of these things actually good? Do we have a way to voice our concerns about these things to the powers that be? Do we have a way to propose better ideas? Anybody? Well, look at this. This is a huge freaking deal. Congress has obtained documents that show big oil companies actively lying about their climate commitments and coordinating to downplay their support for the Paris Agreement. Did you think they supported the Paris Agreement? That's what I know. Did you actually think that they supported the Paris Agreement in the first place? He said that's fraud. A quick thread. We'll look at the thread. We'll look at this article too. I don't know if we can look at it. It's in the New York Times, but we'll see. Anyways, he says there are so many wild parts of this article, it's hard to track all of them. First, a revelation that Exxon pressed an industry trade group to remove any mention of the Paris Agreement from a policy document. Exxon says it supports Paris, but clearly not. Next up, Shell created talking points for its U.S. president that said that the company's commitment to net zero has nothing to do with our business plans. Of course it isn't. Because it runs, net zero is contradictory to not just Shell's operating model, but pretty much every other corporation on the planet. And Patagonia, too. Patagonia doesn't even want net zero, right? How's it going, Hardy? I see you. Can you hold your call for a few minutes? Just a few minutes. I appreciate you. Or just hang out for a few minutes. I'll take your call in a second. I just want to read through this thread. So it has nothing to do with their business model or their business plans. What does it have to do with then? Oh, yeah, lying to the public. Shell also provided guidelines for employees that said, please do not give the impression that Shell is willing to reduce carbon dioxide emissions to levels that do not make business sense. That's a hell of a disclaimer on a pledge that they trumpet in all their ads. Another document shows how Exxon spent millions of dollars on ads promoting algae fuel, only later to admit that the technology was still decades away from the scale we need. Algae fuel. Decades away. It's not the admission that's shocking. It's that they spent millions running those ads. Those algae ads were made by a PR firm named BBDO. These docs are pretty compelling proof that Exxon and BBDO worldwide knew that they were misleading the public with those ads, but charged ahead anyways. Again, fraud. Yeah. Finally, the committee obtained some emails from BP executives joking about the news that Earth had reported its hottest year on record. We're destroying the planet for all future generations. Ha, 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 right? So here's what they were saying. I'll buy the first round Monday night before we say our goodbyes. Joe Ellis, then BP vice president and head of U.S. government affairs, wrote to colleagues. Bob Stout says, a hot toddy, maybe. The vice president, head of regulatory affairs, wrote back. I guess they were joking about it being hot. Here's the thing. These documents are just the tip of a melting iceberg. The New York Times article says the committee has thousands of more pages they are working through and will be releasing more soon. That should have big oil very worried. Why would they worry? Why would they worry? They have the support of every, big oil is big oil. And they also have the support of, plenty of alternative journalists who are doing their bidding as well. Clean, reliable energy. These docs already are enough to show companies like Exxon, Shell, and BP engaging in false statements to regulators, their shareholders, and the public. It's the type of stuff that brought down big tobacco, or more recently, the opioid manufacturers. should also freak out the firms that work with big oil. I don't know. Will it freak them out? Is it going to have any result, any negative result for them? I highly doubt it, but maybe. You know, I'll keep a finger half crossed for that one. After all, McKinsey ended up paying $600 million fine when Purdue Pharma went down. But I hear the pharma industry is still pretty strong, doing pretty strong. You know, is there going to be any end to pharma's influence and profit? I don't see it. Hopefully, we'll learn more at tomorrow's House Oversight Committee hearing, which the oil companies were too afraid to come testify at. Another sign that they aren't feeling so confident in their stance anymore. Anyways, we know. Okay, I'll take this call. Hardy, how you doing?
Hey, how are you today?
Hey, what's up? Oh, sorry. Hold on one second, okay? For some reason, you're not. Can you say something again, sir?
Hey, is that coming through?
It's actually not coming through in the right place. Hold on.
Let me try again too.
For whatever reason. Oh crap.
Is that any better?
No, it's actually not you. It's you're supposed to be coming through so that people can hear you. And for some reason you are not. Wow. Hold on one sec.
Dun dun dun.
There you are. Okay. How's it going, Hardy?
Oh, cool.
All right. Great.
Good. I'm actually just new to Colin, and so I'm just seeing different shows pop up, and I had a moment, and yours just popped up, so I kind of joined in last minute.
Oh, cool.
So I'm just looking to chat with people and learn about different things. I'm a farmer, do
Are you?
regenerative methodologies near Boulder, Colorado, so I
Nice.
thought this would be a fun one just to jump in.
Okay. Well, what? Well, great. Tell me your experiences doing farming near Boulder.
Yeah, and just kind of seeing loosely, like I said, jumping in last minute and about your interest in climate change and how that's impacting all of us.
Yeah.
I live in like kind of a high desert relative climate in terms of agriculture.
Yes.
There's a lot of implications from the wildfires we've had, the droughts we're going through, and I wanted to bring up maybe just kind of a thought about. Um, I've always been kind of jaded about the potential for actually accomplishing change in the
Sure.
environment. Um, but we've been working with some friends here, and I just planted an orchard last April 21, about 800 trees,
Okay.
nothing huge by any means, and it's supposed to incorporate. It's like 8 rows of trees, and there's pasture between them, each row, and all those things, and just trying to like increase pasture health and local kind of a growth on my property, but how these things in, let's say there's along the Front Range in my geography in Colorado near Boulder and Denver and whatnot.
Yeah.
If many people are doing this thing, how what solutions you are aware of in terms of actually like microclimates or creating changes in our local environment? Like I'm literally looking at the mountains about 1,000 feet from me, and if we grow trees along the entire stretch just in front of them, how those microclimates might actually pull a little bit of moisture and breath from the trees to make a change, and
Yeah.
how those microclimates might make a macro difference if we're all doing a huge thing. So
Absolutely.
really no
Yeah.
objective and no awareness of what you're doing. I just thought it would be a fun topic to pop in on.
Yeah. No. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, so that was your purpose in planting these trees, was to kind of help organize this microclimate, or help.
It was, yeah, it was somewhat kind of mixed. That was more of a secondary learning aspect to it,
Yeah.
but really just I want to have space to have a productive orchard. I want to have space to have water retention. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to have space to rotate and maybe graze like some sheep or a few head of cattle through my space to
Yeah.
where I didn't have a macro picture. But the more I think and learn and conceive of these things, it feels like if a million of us coordinate something, that it actually makes a huge difference. So just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not aware of the implications of microclimates, but I know that they do exist. And I have a particularly very unique circumstance in my property where literally like a mile south of me and a mile north of me is radically different weather, but we have this weird um, kind of canyon that comes through and filters weather around us. And so it's almost a good place to see how microclimate might even have some application here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think people underestimate the micro value of what they're doing, and we submit to, oh, well, these huge industrial, agricultural, entities are doing all these different things, but that,
Right.
in a small sense, we actually might be able to circumvent some of the catastrophe of these giant organizations and whatnot.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with you, and that's cool that you're doing that. I don't know if you're familiar. There's one person I can think of is Walter Jane from Australia. I
Mm.
don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's
I haven't, but I'll look it
he
up
talk
soon.
he's basically talking about restarting or regenerating hydrological cycles and creating just that kind of he's in Canberra and so he talks a lot about like regenerative creating like microclimates that turn into macroclimates, but basically you can create not only carbon sinks but also create not your own weather but the more chances for favorable weather, and you can also cool this your surrounding area by a few degrees, right? So it's one
Mhm.
way of like combating like global warming itself. um, if you can do this like on a citywide basis, you can actually bring down the temperature of a particular area. So he's a good
Yeah,
person to check out. Yeah.
not to interject, but like someone told me this recently. I thought it was profound because I always am curious about climate change on its I don't know, just like aggregate level versus what really are impacts based on our level of urbanization, deforestation, and
Yeah.
how in exposing a huge amount monocropping, you're exposing a huge amount of uncovered soil, which reflects an amount of heat, or you've got these urban areas which are just like concrete reflectors
Right.
up into the sky, and that
Right.
is it a matter of sometimes to me our emissions as a culture or the opening of this like the surface of the land that we don't allow like tree systems to breathe for us. We don't allow for coverage of crops on the ground that hold heat and moisture into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when I look at like these ideas of tens and tens of thousands of years of climate change, and those are natural cycles, which I think we all agree on, but how
Right.
much does man influence it versus how much does our destruction of certain climates. It's not necessarily about fossil fuels, but me about our like
Yeah.
harming of the ecology to take care of itself, and that's something I found very
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, yeah, sure, definitely, absolutely. I think that's also in it too. Um, right. We're creating heat islands. All the cities
Mm.
and the concrete and everything are all we're destroying nature's ability to heal itself, right?
Yeah.
So and that's actually one of the things that I kind of I don't know if I believe in, but I kind of want to go with is that if we're going to do anything about climate change, like let's say there's a lot of people out there that are oh, you're not going to fix it or we're not going to get it together, but like if you're going to get it together, there are some very basic practical things you can do, right? Like create these green areas, create these forests, create these restart these hydrological cycles. um, try and get people working together to do stuff like that. Do organic farming and gardening and permaculture and what all of that, right? So these are very like just and they may feel like drops in the bucket, but there are ways to kind of take back, and also to take back like our connection to the planet, our connection to the earth, right, and our to be actual stewards of the earth, right? Instead of just like driving over it in our
Extractors.
cars. Yeah. So I mean, all these are
Are
really.
you sorry to interrupt? Are you somewhat familiar? Have you seen Kiss the Ground?
Yeah, actually, it's. I know the guy started that. Not super well, but kind of like friend of a friend, and because he's in LA, I'm in LA, and so
Mm.
yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, there was. I think I got into this with some friends, just having more of an idealistic sense of what we could do to make a small change in our local community. But going through the extreme, probably a prominent creator of fossil fuels and waste is the military of the U.S. government,
Yeah,
and
oh yeah,
how if we're we've got all these offsets of what they're doing, and fuel emissions from cars, and people talk about methane burps and farts from cows and all these things, but I think that's a reductive element of looking at it versus the capacity of soil and water in the ocean to harness and hold these carbon outputs. And Kiss the Ground was one of the first things that actually gave me hope
yeah,
of like really minuscule increase in organic material in soils around the arable
mm-hmm.
farmland of the entire planet, and how it actually feels like if we just shifted to, don't even change our industrial consumption, but if we switch to increasing regenerative farmland production, that we could actually store all the carbon or a lot of the carbon from all of our outputs and even reverse some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so kind of just like, how do we encourage people, because this is something I'm finding with my market when I talk to people about what my vegetables are worth, because I cultivate them by hand. They're
Yeah,
organic, they're productive, they're way more like healthful, nutritious, flavorful than anything you can buy in any store, and within 100 miles of here.
yeah,
But how do we stimulate the consumer or the producer to just say, we really just, it doesn't take much, but we can encourage a little bit of soil change and growth. How do we increase the education and awareness to people? That's something I've been struggling with. When people say, "Oh, you want to charge $4 a pound for cucumbers when I could buy it for $2.50 from Whole
yeah,
Foods," but my cucumber is better and it's more relevant to the local community, and I'm dealing with fairly affluent buyers in
yeah,
Boulder and things like that. It's
yeah.
like when they look at me with a scowl when I tell them my price, it's like, well, fuck you then, wants to
Right.
be like my kind of response. It's like, I
Sure.
don't want to waste, this is true of much of the country, to turn it back to you in a second here, but like
Yeah.
mostly 1% of all food in Colorado that we grow and or that we eat, as 100% of the food that we eat, 1% of it's local. And like that's a very common number for most of the United States, aside from like California and Florida and Georgia and things like that.
Yeah.
But like it's so disturbing that people, they say on a surface level, I want this healthy community, I want healthy nutrition,
Right.
and I can say, and you will save tens of thousands of dollars on medical bills when you're 60, if you're a 30-year
Sure.
old, if you just eat healthfully.
Right.
But there's a disconnect there. And to me, that's the trippiest part, is like the disconnect of awareness and intended action, but also failed like commitment to doing,
Yeah.
local change. Like it's a very strange conundrum.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, like you were talking about, well, if we, doing the right things, if that would offset the wrong things, and I think, we're in a tight spot, and we're going to have to encourage the right things, and also encourage, the you know the loss of destruction of the taking down of the destructive things like those, so right, like you get all these imported cheap vegetables from all over the place, and which are harmful in so many ways, not just the vegetables themselves, but the actual, like, the production and the shipping and the packaging and the
Well, I mean,
all,
the average
all
vegetable
that
is
stuff.
like 1,600 miles
Right.
to
So
the average.
you have to stop. We have to stop that stuff, right? And so either, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard. The education part is hard. It's hard because everybody is. There are a lot of people out there that are still stuck in a, like, oh, climate change, whatever bubble, Even if they're not straight out deniers, they're like soft deniers in that they don't want to
Let
think
me
about.
go
I don't
buy
want to
my
think about it.
99-cent hamburger
Right.
at McDonald's. It's
Right.
like where do you think that actually that cost goes? You know?
Right. That all of that, yeah, that's externalized, and so yeah, it's tough. It is tough, but it's just like a little by little is pretty much all you can do. I think but kudos to you for doing what you're doing, and we have a lot of on this channel a lot of people that are off grid, and farmers, and they're doing they're homesteaders, and right there's a lot of people that are already doing the thing that are watching the channel, and there's a lot to learn from them, and I'm doing what I can as far as like growing my own food. I'm learning as well. So, but I think if more
Yeah.
people just become aware of where their food comes from and what they're doing to the planet and all that, it's a lot to take in and it's a lot to think about, but it can be done for sure.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for calling. I'm going to let you go because I have another caller, and also have
Well, I appreciate it, man. I will. I'll follow you guys, and we'll stay in touch for the future.
cool. Thanks, Hardy.
All right, bye.
Right. Before I take this other caller, I'm going to have to plug in my computer because it's about to die. Hold on, guys. Hold on. That was professional podcaster stuff right there. Okay, who is on the line? I can't. Is it Sealy? Sealy, I think. What's going on, Sealy?
It's Cele, but
Sealy, how you doing?
yeah. Hi, it's the first time I see you or I hear you, you know?
Okay.
It was just by chance. And I'm gonna subscribe. It's really good that to have climate change spoken about. I wanted to tell you something about what you were talking about with the last caller.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but there was a time where fur coats was a thing that you could see on the streets and in every country. I mean, even in countries where the cold was not even as much, and movies and stuff. And nowadays, at least where I'm from, you cannot see. They disappeared. I mean, it's not the industry used to be, so it's possible to do that. The thing is, I think is what you mentioned is so much lobby that started from the beginning against climate change that made it like well, maybe it's not like that, or so much push against it that
Right.
people are not really conscious about it. And
No.
I wanted to ask you something also,
Okay.
if you can enlighten me in this. I know that you have a lot of fires in the last years, especially in California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if you know how those fires usually start, if they are made on purpose, if they are to clean land, or if just accidents.
I think there are various ways that the fires are started. I don't necessarily think that they're started on purpose.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
in California mainly, so we have a lot of trees dying from infestation, like insects. Also drought. So there are a lot of dead trees and drier trees and drier foliage because we're in a very long drought. And so, especially in like Southern California, there are times when it gets very hot and very windy, and you can pretty much count on those days that a fire is going to start somewhere, right? It just takes a little spark from something, whatever it might be, like a gardener or somebody throwing a cigarette out a window or whatever. It just
Okay.
takes a little
Yeah,
bit.
not on purpose. There's no purpose after
I
on
mean,
those.
well, you mean like somebody going out and starting the fires?
Well, we have that problem because if you start a fire, then you can make a business out of
Oh, right.
building, you know,
Sure.
building houses, or maybe you can have cows there that you didn't used to
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that land and yeah.
I mean,
So it's a lot.
possibly some of them might be, intentional, but I'm not, from what I've
Yeah,
heard.
but it's not a thing for you. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
that.
I don't think mainly. I don't think
It's
it's
not a
that.
thing in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
No, I was wondering about that because
Where are you located at, Sally?
Argentina,
Oh, Argentina. Okay.
uh,
Cool.
and we are like having a very big problem with that. Like 5 provinces that are
Oh
on
no.
fire, and yeah, and it's not even spring here.
Yeah.
And they are. I mean, for instance, there's big fires.
Wow.
The army went there for a while to monitor and help,
Yeah.
and they were there like 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks there was no fires there anymore.
Okay.
They left, and the day after
And the
they
fire.
started again.
Yeah.
Yes, and we passed a law and everything, but it's there's so much money involved that
Yeah.
it's back there.
Yeah.
But yes, I wanted to know that
Okay.
that the other thing we have those too, but you cannot control that with all the draft and everything and not raining. It's a
How
problem.
about this
Well,
winter? This winter in Argentina, has it been warmer than usual?
no,
No.
well, it's the thing is that we don't have that much. We don't have this usual that every winter is cold, that cold. This has been the thing is that it's very, very cold because of some phenomena, but it
Yeah.
lasts little. It doesn't last as long as winters used to last.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they start and we have a polar wave, so it's confusing because you say, oh my god, it's colder than other winters, but you can see that it started afterwards, that
Hmm.
usually, and now it's not even spring and we are like in 20 degrees, that beautiful weather. It's not
Oh, I see.
winter,
Yeah.
it's over. So
Shorter
yeah,
winters
that's
will
happening.
definitely.
and
Yeah.
and the thing is the draft, there is like is historically dry
Yeah.
places that were not there before.
Hmm.
So yes, it's affecting everywhere.
Yep.
It's affecting everywhere.
Yep. Definitely.
So that's
Yeah.
well, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Sally, for calling. I appreciate
No,
it.
I'll be
Thanks.
back. Bye.
Okay. All right. Cool. Um. All right. Let's. I'm gonna. Got a couple more minutes. Let me see. I want to see what else I have here in my queue. I know this is random, but I don't know if anybody cares about crypto, but there was a big deal. Something happened last night, which was Ethereum switched to proof of stake. I'm kind of a crypto person, and I know everybody might find that weird, but we're just taking a hard left here. Anyways, Ethereum went to proof of stake. Well, the reason why it has to do with climate change is obviously because of the energy. A lot of people talk about the energy used by cryptocurrency and how bad it is. And so apparently the switch by Ethereum to proof of stake will be less energy intensive, and everybody thinks it's going to be great. And a lot of people, it's been coming for like years and years, and it really built up into this big thing. And I guess it's, what's happening is it's running and it's working. So there wasn't, it was kind of like a, what happened? What was it called? The year 2000? I can't remember when they thought everything was going to collapse. Like, I think everybody thought this Ethereum work, proof of work to proof of stake was going to bring some huge change, either good or bad. And it happened, and it's like, ho hum. It just kept on going, right? So, not a lot of news on that front to report, but there's somebody who I follow on Twitter who is the End of the World Party. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with the End of the World Party. They're very much climate conscious Twitter entity, but did this really long, very long. I don't even think I read the whole thing. It was so long. I tried to read the whole thing this morning, but it was very interesting article on how proof of work, how Bitcoin mining can actually help the implementation of renewable energy, sources into a renewable energy grid. And it was fascinating. It was actually fascinating. I have big doubts about, I think legitimate doubts, and a lot of people do too, about the amount of energy it will take to actually replace our current grid with a renewable energy grid, and how that actually we'll probably use, if we have something called a carbon budget, we'll, eat up the remaining carbon budget to actually replace that. So I don't know, in my mind, I don't think our grid necessarily needs replacing. I think what people should do is have small, either community-based or even personal sources of renewable energy, like a solar panel on your home, or maybe a community gets together and does a, like a solar panel that they can get, solar panel and or, windmill that they can get power from, local, hyper locally, right? I think that would be a better, more manageable, less damaging thing than trying to replace our entire grid and power our entire, with whatever trillion terawatt, something, terawatts of energy that the entire world needs. I don't know if that's something we really want to do, but anyways, to get back to what I was saying, I only can do kind of an overview of what this article is talking about, because it is very long and very involved. But the gist of it is, when you deploy renewable energy sources, they have a lot of excess energy, right? In peak production times, they have too much energy, they can't store it. This is energy that Bitcoin miners can use. Also, what is already happening in Texas, and I didn't know this, Texas and Georgia and other places where there's a large Bitcoin mining community, is that they communicate with the local governments and with the energy grid to shut down when it's peak time. So the local energy company will give them a heads up and say, hey, we need you guys to turn off. It's peak times, it's hot or it's cold or whatever, and we need this, we need you guys to shut it down so that you don't stress the grid, and they will do it. They already have these agreements in place. And so basically what this article is saying is that these Bitcoin miners can end up being like an ancillary management system for a renewable energy grid. And it's fascinating stuff. It's actually a fascinating read. It's called Deep Bit Carbonization. I don't have time. You know what I might do is come back tomorrow, because I wanted this to be like a few days of conversation. So I see somebody in the YouTube chat that's, kind of agreeing with what I'm talking about. And I actually see, I see actually very helpful and useful things with crypto and or blockchain in getting into a better place on the planet. I think that those things, I think it's in my mind, it's a magical, wonderful unicorn. No, it's not that. It's not all that, but I just think we can use technology in a better way rather than having technology use us, right? So I want to have a deeper conversation around this. So what I will do is come back tomorrow and I will read part of this article, and maybe it can just be a jumping off point for us to discuss, all kinds of things. Renewable energy grid, energy usage, crypto, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay. So that does it for me. I'm going to sign off. Thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I will be back tomorrow at the regular time of noon Pacific Daylight Time, or we'll just call it Pacific Time. I'll be back at noon tomorrow, and until next time, peace.